What is up, everyone? It's your main man. It's your sorcerer supreme right here in each and every broadcast on Fearless Conversations on YouTube. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Someone that's been part of the Fearless family for a while. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm with Caroline Lorson. Caroline the Divine is the woman's manifestation
That's
coach and spiritual guide. She's worked in state mental health system for the last 6 years, advocating ruthlessly for consumers within the system. After surviving a brainwashing program, the WWASP at a behavior modification boarding school in upstate New York, she survived severe traumatic experiences, which ultimately led her to third eye being forced open. With the veil lifted, she feared her sanity was in jeopardy. Despite the fear, Caroline answered the resounding yes to her calling and now seeks to enlighten others through her understanding of the unseen world around us. I'm going to bring up all her links, and the links are in the description below as well. And as she speaks, we're going to bring up her Instagram, we're going to bring up the YouTube, and we're going to introduce you to her. Happy New Year, and how are you?
I am doing awesome today. It has just been one of those really powerful days where it's just like I'm feeling the energy, I'm feeling the vibes, I'm seeing things happening in a really effortless way too, which is like what I strive for, right? You want to be in that zone of not trying too hard, just appreciating, enjoying. So it's been a phenomenal day.
That's awesome, and I hope the new year's been treating you right. And thank you so much for coming on Fearless Conversations with us. We the Fearless family, you know, we like to discuss openly in a safe, sacred space everything that happens within our story to allow others to hear this, perhaps gain some assistance, and then step into that area themselves, which is quite a beautiful undertaking. But it is difficult, and it does take us to waken in this process. And for me, as I witness everyone else and their stories coming online, I look for certain people. We're all tuned in, I guess, to frequencies with each other. And there's this expectations of meeting the others when they arrive. And when I was reading everything that you were posting and that you were seeing, see, this is a big one. This is what freaks everyone out, right? This is what everyone comes to us for. This is why they say, hey, what do you think of this? Or what about that? Because you can see. Now, if you could explain to us or the audience listening how this happened to you.
Sure. So when my third eye opened, I was at rock bottom. I was going through probably one of the most difficult experiences in my life. And I had pretty much just fallen apart, right? I was at that point where I was laying on the floor of my living room, screaming to the sky, just, I didn't know what to do. All I had was hope, right? And so essentially, I started noticing some bizarre things happening. I started seeing some weird things. And at first I thought, oh God, maybe I just, need some sleep. Maybe, I thought I was having a breakdown, really. And, in a way, maybe I was. But so essentially over the journey, it started with a couple weird sightings. I looked out my window one night and I could see things out there, just these beings kind of lurking. They were just kind of hanging out. And essentially it progressed from there. I started being able to see entities attached to people. And a lot of it too, I realized a lot of it was my own fear, my own anxiety manifesting because I was not in a healthy place. I did not have my other energy centers balanced and in alignment. And so really what I was seeing, I wasn't necessarily intended to see, if that makes sense.
Okay. So do you feel that it was a little before your time, perhaps before you were ready? Or did you have like any lead to this?
So First off, to answer your first question, I think it happened exactly when it was supposed to happen, because I feel like that's how everything is. It happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. And at the time, I wouldn't necessarily say I was prepared, but I have always been spiritual. I have always been in tune, even from a young child. You know, I always sensed, I could always feel a presence. So when I started seeing these things around me, this world around me, it wasn't shocking, but I definitely had that feeling of like, am I really seeing this? Am I really experiencing this? Where is this coming from? Right? I was wanting to test it almost. Where is this coming from? What's the source of what I'm seeing? And at the time, which I find so interesting now, I really had no education about it. And so all I had was this raw experience. And so now that I am educated and learning even more, it's interesting seeing that confirmation. You
Right.
know, it's like this existed before I saw it. So I know it's not, you know, from me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you're not discovering. We all feel we discovered it for the first time, but then you realize this has always been there. I've just never been aware of it.
Exactly.
Kind of comes in like that. Now, more questions. Growing up, other than being spiritual, do you recall paranormal experiences or UFOs?
Yeah, so my earliest memory, and I can remember it so vividly because it was just like an imprint in my mind, and I've always had visions that were in my mind, just images that would come to me. And at first I just thought, you know, I have an awesome imagination, you know, I was a kid. But the very first time I had this vision, I was probably I was probably 8 or 9, and I was in the doctor's office, and I remember having this like profound thought of what are we? Right? I was just like, what are we? And I got this vision of these like light bodies. And at the time it didn't make any sense to me, but something, it resonated very, very deeply in my soul. There was a truth there, even at this young age. And so I continued to return to that vision and that memory of what are we? And I would see those light bodies, and that just made it, it was the truth. It was the truth, and I could feel it. You know, I wasn't really raised in like a religious household. My mom was always very spiritual, so I kind of tried everything out. You know, I tried the Christianity thing. I read about Buddhism, Hinduism. I was constantly on the search for truth. You know, and I don't really know yet if there's the entirety of the truth in a single text. You know, but
Yeah, no, you how do you define the all in a text?
yeah, no.
Right? It's the ever moving creation moving forward. When I was younger, I didn't have a light being sense. I had no sense of any of that, but I sensed something fantastical, and that there's more to this. And there was magic when I was younger, and there would be these peekaboo moments of boo, a ghost, but it's a relative that just passed. But I'm too young. I wasn't allowed at the funeral. So the last time I saw them, they were doing whatever. And then now they're there, and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Or weird moments where the light would come on in the basement, and the Jesus picture would fall off the wall, and you'd hear the bang, and the lights would go off, come back on, and it was on the wall. It was really awkward stuff when I was a child, though. And then I had missing time. That's what weirded me out. I had about 2 or 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours in the 70s. When I lived in my first house, my parents were both together. We were starting to watch a movie. I looked up. My mother screamed at something, and I looked in the window, and I saw it looked like a frog man, but like a, now that I'm older, it's a guy in a scuba suit with the big goggles. But it was against the window, like, and the window was right in front of me. So right as I was looking at you, it just came right up, and then that was it. The next thing, the show we were watching, Kung Fu Theater, on Saturday afternoon was over, and the credits were on, and the popcorn was still sitting in front of us. And then I snapped out of it first and looked up. I didn't know what happened. And then I looked at her. She looked like she was sleeping. And then she looked at me and then was like, oh, and grabbed me, and then ran to the phone, called my dad. Naturally, she had to call his office because we didn't have cell phones. Right? I tell people this, it was 10 cents for a phone call. Right. So then that's it. Little moments like that up through my life. And then All right, so let's get back to you.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm feeding off of it. I love this.
Well, for me, it was like I had weird psychedelic experiences. You know, I hung out with dudes. We ate some shrooms a couple of times. I had some acid. Overate a bunch of times, not even realizing what was happening. And telepathy, everyone got scared. Me, I curled into a ball thinking like Professor X, what is happening here? And everyone else was scared. And then it just goes away. And then, you know, the story, Chris Geo, ayahuasca, boom, DMT, boom. And it was like this last 5 years, everything from every lifetime just condensed and boom, came in. So it's a refiguration of my mind, the neural pathways, the everything. So I'm curious because I'm hearing you. See, I fell and got hurt, and then it led me that way. You seem to have been more, most people were, no real education to it, kind of just living life. And then something wiggles you right into that spot, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? But we can see it.
So I'm going to jump in real quick. So it's so funny that you shared that story because I have one that's very similar. And again, one of my very first experiences, but this was, let's see, I was about 22 maybe. And I had been painting this bedroom. And I mean, I had been painting this bedroom for hours. And so kind of that same feeling of being like lost time. And I'm sitting by this window and like I can still see it in my mind. I look up at this window and we had bushes outside and trees and things like that that were right up against the window. But all of a sudden I see this, I've always called him the leaf man. I don't really know another way to describe it, but his whole face and everything was made of leaves and branches. And when he comes up to this window, I'm, you know, sitting down looking upward, and he looked down at me and was kind of like, oh. And so again, one of my very first experiences, I think I ran out of the room as fast as I could, you know, turn the lights off, and I hopped my ass into bed. And, you know, but of course those things stay with you. How could you ignore that? Yeah.
Well,
and then
see, no,
sorry,
go
ahead.
It sounds like an elemental to me. The more you're describing it, like a tree being.
Right. Yes. And it was. And so, and that wouldn't be the last time that I saw things like that. I spent about that, like I said, that was the beginning, and it lasted for maybe about 12 months of constant visuals, constant presence. And it was not always enjoyable.
Right.
But I will say, having a background in psychology, having a background in wanting to know about that world, it's almost like I studied it, right? I'm like, ooh, this is like a live case study. How can I figure this out? How can I understand what this is that I'm experiencing? And one of the main things that I found was, of course, my energy is going to attract certain things. So if I am, which a lot of the time I was at this point, like I said, I had other things going on in my life, but borderline panic attack, anxiety, fear, and it just drew it in. It just absolutely drew that into my life in a really big way.
So you had to figure that out on your own? Was that like that it was coming to you because you were thinking it or you were putting it out there?
Yeah, and I had always known that, like, you know, like attracts like, and what you put out there, you get back. But,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I never really understood it in a very real way. And so I started kind of experimenting. Okay, right. I'm crippled in fear right now. What am I seeing? And it would just be like a horde of, I mean, all kinds of stuff, you know, inhuman. And then I would say, okay, let me take control of my energy. Let me connect to the highest power. Let me connect to the light and see what happens there. And so then I started having angelic encounters. I started having these encounters with light beings. I shared in one of my posts one time that this was a serious night when the dark was very present. And they started manifesting in a way that I hadn't seen before. So I started snapping pictures because at this point, I'm still in disbelief of what's happening. I started snapping pictures. Well, I could actually see that there were angelic beings guarding me. in between me and them. And it's almost like, I mean, some of them were this big, like little gladiators. I don't know.
Don't be ashamed to tell it exactly as it is. They've always told me, don't embellish. You don't have to make up, because as a rapper, we use a lot of words to add extra, ambiance to the whole thing. They're like, just look at it, say what it is. It's already crazy enough, but crazier is you're going to have so many people who reply, thank you for saying that, because this is what I've experienced, right? I've had the little men in my apartment where they come out of like a little crap. Well, it's not little. It's little for us, but big, like a sphere. And you think a giant robot's coming in the room and the eye flashes and you're like, oh, and you go into 100% fear. And then a little deck comes out there and they start marching out. And they're like, you're people, like we're here for this moment. And you're just, I got nothing. And they don't leave. And you're just with them for a good amount of time. And then they go on and set you on to the next thing. And I've seen some stuff that'll just I don't even talk about sometimes. And so sometimes Paul doesn't want me to talk about describing the darker things.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They're there. Those are the ones that I first experienced, the darkest of the dark. Immediately, boom. Oh, you're there? Oh, okay. But I had no idea about the push-pull and I bring my own stuff to me. I literally found that out in this last 5 years on this journey. As when I met Paula 6 months into it, she was like, you're bringing that, you're doing that when you're like, oh, you mother effer or this or that, you're the one that's bringing that. And then it took a long time to break that habit, those habits, and then just being grateful, thankful. And then everything changed literally like that. And I started witnessing the same synchronicities that I thought were coincidences, right? And it turned into this other thing because the beings and I got so overwhelmed. I couldn't. There were some days where I would sit and have to breathe and go, okay, where am I? What am I doing?
Right.
What am I looking at here? I'd walk through the apartment and start leaning all the way, and I'm moving out of the way of something that's not there because I'm drifting in and out. And then one day, through practice, meditation stuff, it just snapped into place. And now you witness whatever, but it starts as people get worried. They're like, Frank, you're bringing in demons. And I'm like, no, we get rid of the demons. We get rid of those. It's like step one.
Yeah.
Right? Did you have a Kundalini experience?
I did eventually.
Okay.
At that time, like I said, I had gone through insane amounts of trauma. And so at that point, everything was closed and tight as I'm trying to protect and make myself small. And slowly, and I've had to return to this practice over the years because, once you go into that security and safety mode, you want to go back there, right? Like your body is just programmed to want to return to that safety of being closed off, right? And so it has taken a lot of mindfulness and a lot of healing sorry, let me back up for a second. When you feel safe, you can relax, you can open, right? When you feel like you're not in immediate danger, you're not in, impending doom, you're going to be able to open all of that up and let it flow. So a lot of that, I received a lot of divine guidance. I think I had mentioned in a post, and I'll share again here in our interview, I had received a divine healing, and I was sitting in my bathroom one night, and again, this was at my rock bottom, you guys. This was like, I mean, how I got up every single morning, I don't know. I didn't want to, is at that point. And I'm sitting in my bathroom, and my whole bathroom filled up with this light, and I heard these angels singing my name in the most like rhythmic, melodic. Oh, I can still hear it. And I heard this voice. And before he started speaking, I heard the voices of my family members. And I could hear them saying, Caroline, we love you. We love you, Caroline, we love you. Right? I could hear all of them. We love you. And, so at this point, they've got my attention, right? I'm sitting there like, okay, what is happening? I was almost in a trance, just entranced by this. And so this voice spoke to me and it said, Caroline, you are an angel here on earth. You will write a book. It told me a bunch of things. I'm not going to go through all of it, but it wasn't very long either. It lasted maybe about 10 minutes, if that. I don't know. It could have been 30 seconds. It seemed like a while to me. But they said, in this moment, you are healed. And I broke out in this heat rash, which is crazy because I had been having dreams at night about performing exorcisms on myself. And I would wake up from these dreams with this like hot burning, right? Like this, I broke out in this heat rash. And I'm telling you, at the time I smoked cigarettes, I didn't want to smoke cigarettes. I didn't want to do anything. It's like it had been lifted from me. And from that point on, I started receiving divine guidance. I mean, it was unavoidable.
Divine guidance. It's as you're talking. Now, there's no way I can prove this one way or another, but right before we started, I usually have a list of things to ask people. I didn't have one for you because I was excited just to talk to you. I already had all your information from earlier, so I went through everything I looked. But something flashed in my mind and said, ask her if she wrote that book right before we came on. And I have it on my paper. It just says book. And that wiggles me out a little bit because I've dealt with angels, they're laughing right now. See, as far I could hear them going, like that's what we're talking about. They want us to, if you're making that connection, even if you can't prove it at that moment, you're supposed to bring it up and talk about it in that moment. So as you brought it up, it came back around. I remembered. I was like, whoa, this happened just right before she came on here. I was supposed to ask her about a book. And I said, well, I didn't see nothing about a book yet. So it's them like reaffirming it. It's just really one of those weird things, right? Because I get shook from it too. I'm like,
yes, no,
that synchronicity.
And I feel like they have been talking to me recently, where they're like, that book, remember what we told you, and I feel like they know me by now. I'm a little bit like, I definitely go where I'm being led, right? I have a calling. And even if it's something like, go talk to that person right now.
Yes.
Out in public, I'm like, well, let me go talk to that person. Whatever it is where I feel like I'm being pulled is where I'm going to pour my energy.
Same thing talking to you this evening on FearLess Conversations. I had the same pull. They were like, it's her turn right now, get her right now. And I was like, okay, guys, let's do it. I'm ready.
Right. This is it.
But the funny thing is, it's the book. We think like, oh, I'm going to write a book, but that's part of it, right? You're supposed to be like, yay, book, or, oh, I was going to write a book, but break through it and be like, okay, this is cool. It's what happens after it's written, right? You get, this is good. And then it starts. The first person looks at it, second person, and then we're all getting that guidance. We'll call it divine guidance, where you're always where you're supposed to be at the right time, right? So when you come across the book, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know what the hell is going on. And boom, right? It appeals to exactly who it needs to appeal to. Exactly. Which is why when I tell Aya, I cried to her once about, people that follow me. And they're like, well, they don't follow you. I go, no. On social media and stuff. You would think by now, because I started to get into the circles of the other guys. Like, and to me, I was like coming from the rap circuit. And she's like, no. 300-400 people, those are your peeps. Yous are all a family. There's no leaders, there's no followers. Everyone's a family, right? Whoever gets there first kind of breaks open the shell and says, come on, family. You build the starship. And then those let's say 400 are all going to be like good-minded when it comes to this. They're going to have a clue what's going on. And they'd rather have those 400 rocking and rolling, helping planet Earth, than 100,000 people waiting for the solar flash or the event, or whether Jesus comes to save them, right? Because when that doesn't occur, who do you turn to? And it's going to be, these circles of people that have been doing that hard work, that who can see, or the shamans, the healers. They're just going to hold a space for you so you can start your healing. But it's interesting. So the book starts saving people. So that's why there's a timing on the book, a timing on who reads the book, who gets to see it, the process of you going through it. So
let me ask you something real quick. So I believe I heard in one of your previous episodes, you said that you were unlocked in 2014. Is that when this all happened for you?
Yeah, I was the end of the beginning of the Indie Boom 2014-2015 tour. I started the tour by going to Chris Gio's house, and 5 days I went under twice, 3 times a day. DMT, ayahuasca, DMT, ayahuasca, 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 DMT. And the first night, the first DMT hit broke me open. I heard the crack. I started crying. I grabbed Chris. I was holding him like he was my mother, and I was a child. I was going, "What did you do to me? I'm dying." And then these beings on the second hit came out of a portal in his living room. The whole wall turned in, and they were like, "You ready?" And I said, "No, no, 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 no." I was like, "I'm dead." And I heard Chris is like, dude, you're right. You're going to take that third hit, right? He was like holding my legs. There was like 8 people watching me. And I said, no, yes. And then and the being that was in front of me just grabbed me, pulled me, and I was out. Yeah. I've never experienced anything like that. And then I cried, and I looked back. I was stoic when I got to the other side, but I heard me crying. And he goes, "I got to go back. I got to make sure he's not pooping his pants or something," right? And they threw me back in, and there was nothing wrong. It felt like I was pouring out liquid, and it was me piercing the veil.
Right.
So I was fine. And then they just took me, and I was gone for an hour and a half. I met Source. I met Lucifer. Right after that was right under Source, sitting there. It's like a piano. If you turned it this way and you played the low key, the next key, the next key, the next key, the next key.
Right, yeah.
Right. So I was up in the and then the next one down was Lucifer. He looked like my dad, which was weird. And then he was like just radiating goodness. And then I dropped and I met the Satan. And then Satan explained to me it was energy. And I was watching him, and I'm like, "You're not going to fight me and take my soul?" He's like, "Dude, you're the creator." And I looked, and I was this light being, and I was like, "Holy, it's."
I'm feeling this. I
was like, "It's on now." And then he explained, "I don't come and get you. I'm an avatar to the energy. You're the energy master."
Yes.
He was like, "You don't know, but you're here." And then I was like, I'm not scared of you. I don't have nothing to be scared of. It got scary for me, like frightening, but I had no choice when I met reptilians. They walked in I was in Tampa, and I was having my first shamanic session outside of just me doing it. And there was a bunch of people there, and they just came in the 3rd floor window, and I just completely lost. I thought I was hallucinating. I was like, this can't work that good, that fast. Like everyone's still just staring at me, looking, what are we doing? And I touched one of them, and they were like, "Don't ever touch me again. You're food." And I was like, and then they were like, "Look, you have to ask permission for everything." They explained it to me. You have to ask permission. At the same time, that's the last time we're going to tell you that, because we don't mingle with the meat. And I'm like,
right.
Mingle with the meat? So that stuff is true? Like, you guys be eating babies and raping people and stuff? And they were like looking at me like, you have no idea. But there's this thing, natural law. They can't. So the demons can't come in unless you're like leaving them an entrance. And the ones that do just come in without trying to trick it their way into you, there's like a natural law. Something will come and protect you. So your angel will fight your demon at that point. And those are just echoes of yourself. The demon is, as Source, this is what I've learned, it's all you. So you have nothing to be afraid of. And if they're not attacking you, like I'm still here. You've abducted me, you tagged me, you chipped me, you visited me, the boogeyman at night, the guy in the closet, you did all that. Now I'm not scared. Now what? They can't come in and just punch you in the face. So I'm like, so what do you want to do, sir? I don't challenge them. I move up and on. Sorry, guys, got to go. You're just beat. And if they need to be transmuted, we move on. But that's taken forever to learn that.
So
that's experience.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, there's, through my own experiences of studying it and trying to figure out what the hell are the rules here, right? Because you want to know what are the rules to this game. So when I received that divine healing, this voice, right, Source, had told me, you have already conquered death. You have already conquered death, right? And so you've already won over the darkness. And it just like, it was that moment of realizing, wow, okay, yeah, no, they're engaging with me because I'm engaging, right? It
Right.
is a reflection of me. It absolutely
The
is.
demon gets bigger and stronger when you go, oh, look out. It's in the room with me. It gets
Right.
big. And if you just go, hey, buddy, what are you doing? It gets whoomp tiny. And you
Yeah.
hold it in your hand and be like, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
A
There's no
master of
power
all
there.
energy. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly it. It's taking your own power back.
Yes.
That's why they always tell me observation, Frank. Don't react. That's how they get into you, is your emotion. Because you're
Right.
talking about the chakras when they're spinning and locked and closed. I had to have every single one opened and unlocked, and it was the most painful, but the most it felt great at the same time, like a painful awesome. And
Mhm.
then when it started, I was like, oh, this is how I've been living my life for this whole life since I
Mhm.
was like, maybe my parents got divorced, when things I felt went bad. I never came out of that. Like my
Right.
chakras and all that shut down. They were barely spinning and filled with all kinds of crap. When that came back on, I never touched another thing again. They said every time you want to do a drug or a party thing or you're on stage, look at me, you're trying to connect to source,
Mhm.
right? And then when we activate, it's like, well, I'm source. It's me, prime source, right? Prime
Right.
creator. We're co-creating in this environment where all that and so much more as individuals. And it knocks the socks off of addictions.
Mhm.
Like I've never had a drink again. I never had a cigarette again. You know, I smoke tobacco for ceremony. I take a puff of like real tobacco, and they're like, "That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for the addiction. The
Right.
addiction, you're lacking source, your connection to the spiritual." Now let's go back to angels, little angels, like this big. I wrote it down.
Yes.
They're so important because when I first spoke to you, I told you I can see that you were an angel. It was obvious to me, but I also have Josh's wife Jody is as well. We smoked DMT and her wings came out in our living room, and little angels were exploding out of her, and they were just
Yes.
filling the room, just like you were saying. They just came out. So what happened with your experience? They were protecting you.
So they were protecting me at that time, uh and honestly, I still don't have a lot of clarity on this. If I was the only one who could see them in pictures, I really didn't want to show people these pictures because to me there was darkness in there,
Right.
and so I felt like if I exposed other people to this, it just whatever. So it was something that I needed to recognize, but I could physically see them, and I started noticing their presence. And again, maybe a month later, I was taking pictures of myself, and I had this ray of light that was shining across my face, and you could see the sun and this light that was just pouring into this picture, right? And you could see these faces in the light. You could see these angels. And so another thing, it says in the Bible, and again, I don't really subscribe to one thing or the other, but I do feel that there's truth in everything. Look towards the sky, right? It says, look towards the sky. And that is where I saw most of my angelic visions, was in the clouds, in the sky, literally in the rays of light, the holographic rays of light as sunbeams shine down onto earth. It was in those rays that I would have these visions. And, they would show me all kinds of things. And a lot of that was just really about, because as you start to see things, your brain's trying to figure it out. You're like, what am I seeing? Is that a sandwich or is that a chariot? You're trying to label it and contain it and figure out what you're seeing, and that will actually lead to misinformation. And you're just not going to get very clear visuals like that. So a lot of it for me was learning how to just purely be in a receptive state and just experience, right? Being in the absolute now and just receiving. um, and I still get, especially when I meditate, if I do third eye gazing, I go all kinds of places.
When I look directly at the sun, the rays start to come through, right? So you
Mhm.
connect, and the ray will be like a line or like right up as the ray. Inside the ray, I'll see light language coded, and then them delivering it like right into my friggin' head. And I'm going, I thought I felt a little weird today. And you walk out in the sun, and then I'll go, hey, son, it's me, son of the sun. Don't hurt me, feed me, kid. And then this experience occurs. I don't know what clicks on. It's exactly what you're saying. Inside of that is the information. But that is also outside of when you connect to that, you bring your awareness level up. Especially if you're seeing that stuff in the ray. Not too many people talk about this, but I see it on a lot of the Egyptian walls, the rays hitting the people and them being like, and I'm like, they're literally telling you to stand there and connect to the ray, and the ray is delivering information. But we have all these thoughts on like, oh, they like to just go in the sun. Maybe they're just praying to the sun. And I'm like,
yeah,
no.
It brought them food. It nourished their crops. We have all these ideas of, but that's academia for you. I won't even get into that. That's,
Well, they transformed the truth into what they wanted to lead us to their agenda. So that's our job now is, kick the bullshit right off the cliff, right? You don't need any of that. You can become your own shaman. You don't need Jesus, or I don't mean it like that because I know that'll hurt people, but you don't need the external character.
Right.
If you connect to the, let's say, Christ consciousness internally, the raw consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the organic consciousness, you'll be fine. It's all the same thing. It connects through. I was connecting to Shiva after meeting the Jesus character and talking to Horus and him trying to explain to me what the Horus and me was and all that. And I'm going, why does Shiva show up then? And they're like, look, everyone, the ETs from all the different races on their planets and where they're from or their dimensions, whatever, it's the same thing everywhere, right? You get stuck in, you got to come back up and spiral out. There's a character there that people revere for doing it first, and then it turns into prayer, and then you find out that it's you, and then he becomes you, and you become him, and you're all connected. Like you go through this weird experience. And I'm like, oh, so even on your planet or on your area of whatever, wherever you're from, it's very similar if you're in these densities. And they're like, oh, yeah. And everyone's watching. See, that's what I had to get over. As I passed through, it's like eyes, each frequency, like the lizard eye would be watching, the AI watching, and the next frequency, the higher one. And in the lower frequencies, the demonics, the whatevers, and then in the higher frequencies, bird eyes, cat eyes. And I'm going, whoa, there's walls of eyes. And then when I eat a mushroom or something, I'd go under and have to go through face first, each one of those walls, like I'm passing through each eye until I'm in that white light. And then I come back around and descend, and I can see it. I could just see them lined up. And I'm like, oh, it's like an access panel in a video game. I can just access the lowest to the highest. They're like, dude, that's all you. That's the hardest part, right? Like the angels, when they come, how hard is it at first for you to go, like, did you ever think, like, did your God send you to me? Did God send, like, did that go through your mind at first?
Yes, definitely. Because like I said, at this time, this was my awakening, right? This is me initially starting to figure things out. So I was, calling on Archangel Michael, and I'm, reading scripture, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And really what it was, like I said, was trial and error. It was figuring out and tuning into my truth, figuring out, what do I feel? What do I feel when it's the truth? What do I feel when it's in it? It's like an old knowing, it's just it's like, of course, this is how it is. Especially when my chakras were imbalanced and I was seeing a lot of things that at the time were very scary. I could feel it in my body when it was just busy. And I know you probably know that feeling, that energy of it just being busy. I'm like, I'd walk down a hallway and I'm like, it's busy as hell in here. And I could see things as they're going in and out and moving.
You're never alone anymore. Not that you ever were, but your slight awareness of it, you could be in the middle of nowhere and you could have full conversations externally, internally, at the same time, beings walking with you. You know,
I don't think people fully understand and can appreciate that they are all around us at the same time, right?
yeah,
Like this space that's in between us, that is it,
there's no
right?
over there. It's right here.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not like 30,000 feet up above us, and then, hell is down wherever in some imaginary world. There's not that separation. It all exists at the same time, in the now, at once, all around us, inside of us, outside of us. It is all one experience. So once I started really honoring that and understanding that on a deep level, I mean, it changed everything. First off, it made it really impossible to want to live a normal life. How can I go wait tables somewhere while I'm like, know this existential truth? Made it really impossible to want to participate in life like that. Or heck, even paying a parking ticket. I'm like, which I do pay my parking tickets in case anyone's wondering. But yeah,
I would
it
have
shifted
that.
everything completely.
I would have that with paperwork. I know that sounds weird.
Mhm.
I could not find my ability to do paperwork. I'd sweat and pour sweat and have hyper anxiety. And I'm like, I would go and face a reptilian, the big warrior ones, and look right at them in the face. But I can't look at this paperwork because I don't know what's happening to me. Right? Like this the crazy stuff
Yes.
that goes on. And that's still just, it's this fear of like, Frank, what are you afraid of? Well, I was afraid of sharks. Well, you live in the Bronx, dude. Like, when was the last time you saw a shark? When were you at the beach and saw a shark? I was like,
Right.
never. And they're like, oh, so that's what you're scared of? I don't think so.
Right. Right.
No fear.
And you've got to keep that stuff in check, because that's how you stay trapped, right? And I have found that the people that were sent here with a grand mission are going to come up against the most roadblocks like that, right? And so you have to kind of expect that and know that and go anyways, right? Okay, this is a part of my mission. I'm going to answer the call and I'm going to go anyways. So this little fear and all those roadblocks, when you let that define you, when you let that be, because I know, honestly, okay, I'll be upfront. Here's the deal. I hate in between couch cushions. In between couch cushions, there's a bunch of crumbs down there. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this is really something I hate. It's like, dude, it makes my skin crawl. I'm like, hell no. If something gets dropped down there, I'm like, it's gone. Like, I'm not going in there. But when you start to limit yourself to these little, worldly, of the world, of the earth sort of fears, your eye is not on your purpose. Your eye is not on your sole purpose of why you're here. And it will distract you and keep you trapped.
The distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole place is set up. The entire place is literally set up, right? Readjusted, meant to distract you on every layer with everything. Okay. And then where your attention goes, now you're not concentrating on what you're supposed to be doing. Right. So
exactly.
It's a fight within a fight within a fight. But then here's what I've learned. It's not a fight. Right. You let's say this is a flowing river of energy. You are in a boat and you have your little oars. You got to take your oars and put them in the boat. You got to kind of sit back and smile and just go, because you're more powerful. Listen, it is hard to explain to people when you see these things going on or whatever, to stay in submission. Because you say submission, they think to submit myself. I'm going to submit on a knee or something. And it's like, no. Submit to your emotional output, right? Your fear or your astonishment. That's another big one. And then just sit in it and watch how you're treated, rather than. Yeah. So I would go in and go, hey, what's up, guys? And they're like, look who's here, right? In the beginning, they would just rush up at me and be like, ah. Aya or EMT would just blur out my initial third hit, where I'd come in and it would start to really form. You have an attachment, and boom, it would like make it like black and white, and you would see the spider or whatever attached to you, like eating, or the octopus on your head or whatever, the jellyfish attached to you. And you're like,
Yeah.
what is that? And they're like, okay, breathe. Now you have to get it off. And I'm like, go get it off. They're like, no. Calm. And I'm like, I can't stay calm looking at this. I'm even looking in the mirror and seeing it look at me in the mirror. And I'm going, oh, it's too real, too real. And then the minute I went, you know what? This is some, BS. Get out of here. It would just, oh, sorry about that. Fly off. Sometimes, I'm going to eat you and eat this thing, and I'm going to kill that and do that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. Boom, gone. And it's like, wait a second. How did that happen? They're like, it's you, the great attractor, right? How do we tell you you're the all right up front without you bursting into, all over the floor? It's a thought, right? Oh, reptilians are real. Oh, by the way, you're the creator of all. Like you're a piece of that and making you. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, if we made a sauce for Sunday dinner, right? We're Italian. This is what we do, right? So if I take that sauce and Carolyn comes over and I go, here you go, here's a little sauce, right? Now that little dish has the same thing as the big ingredients, right? It's the same exact thing, has all the same stuff in it. Okay, that's us and source. So now we're just little creators running around like, look who's back. But you have to get to that point. It's hard enough.
You have to own that, and through humility too, right? It's nothing that's like walking around like I'm a creator, it's not like that. It is a oneness, it is a unity, it is humility. And it's so interesting that you brought up spiders, actually, because that was my visual that I got as my fear, my anxiety, what I had to face. It was spiders, and then I also went through another thing. At first, it terrified me. I would be crippled as I saw, and really what it was is they would be like underneath things coming out at me, right? And I would be paralyzed with fear in my room as I'm, experiencing this. And it wasn't until I learned how to harness my energy and raise my energy and connect to light consciously, right? I could connect to source and it would literally light the room up, and I can do it consciously now.
So let me ask you, I got to tell, while you're describing this, is it like the tether we have to source, because we're all connected through, is that like bringing that in and making it like just a solid light structure around you, lighting up the whole room?
I can feel it. Yeah.
Okay.
I can feel it pouring out of my hands. I can feel it emanating. I can feel it connecting. And there's a very real vibration around when that happens. There's a very real holographic light. Holographic is the only word that I can think of to describe it, right? Because it's 3-dimensional. It's not just like someone flipped a light switch on. It is the ultimate fabric of reality that is lighting up because you're aware. It is your awareness that lights it up. And it's at our disposal. No, I don't want to say disposal. It's at our beck and call whenever we want to connect. And anyone can do that. It's not just someone who's had visions, because those experiences are just as real for me as they are for someone who has never had a vision. That reality is still just the same for them. But really, it's about a practice of being mindful, being connected, paying attention to your thoughts, paying attention to the feedback that you receive, because we all get that. You walk into a space and it's like your stomach gets tight. Maybe you start not breathing very deeply, and you're picking up on this energy that's there. So, I think a lot of people now who are experiencing anxiety or experiencing depression, these mental health disorders, see what's there. See the energy that's there, right? Listen to your body, listen to your intuition. Okay. There's more information in that than just popping a pill and making the anxiety go away or making the depression go away. That is our inner radar, our inner compass that is trying to communicate with us. And when we don't listen, it's going to start screaming at us, because it's like, we need attention over here. This is something you should be noticing.
And it's
so yeah, that's
I know a lot of people that listen to this, and whoever hears it later on, we all go through this. It's to say we're not special is kind of whatever, but we're all special. We all go through this. There's one moment in your life where you've had the vision, but you're like, I'm not going to talk about that or say anything, or they'll think I'm crazy, or then God gets involved. And, so how do I explain that? I don't want them to think I'm a goof, but it's all right. That's the point. We go through this, and you're getting information, like you're saying, like if your hand gets hit with the hammer, right? Everything goes to the hand pain, womp, womp, womp. And you're like, well, what if your chakras are being attacked? Womp, womp, womp. My heart's killing me. You only get 4% awareness in this place. Your uniform, the biological robot that we're walking around in is tuned into 4%. So these other things are just all around you all the time. And then you tune into the frequency like a radio station. So if you're afraid, boom, spiders come out and jump you. Freddy Krueger comes out of the oven. And then in other frequencies, right, cats will just come out. I get surrounded by cats all the time. Like, I'll go under and I'll clear someone, right? So it won't be psychedelics. I don't always do psychedelics. Once you're broken open, it's almost like when you take the time with it and you learn and you grow, you realize you're becoming that, right? So that it's a tool that helps you gain awareness, and that it's our job to get more awareness. Like I don't just rely on Aya and DMT. So when I started seeing through my hand, right? So like a scanner from here to here, and I would just wave my hand hello to people, and I would be like, oh, this dude's got a reptilian in his chest. And I would just be able to go over and be like, hey, man, you got to let me in. And they'll be sitting around the room going, oh, I want the full service. I want the full, whatever the full service is, Frank. I'm like, just relax and breathe. You got to let me in because I can't sit. We're not here to save you. All right. I'm going to get this thing. I'm going to get it out of you. But then you're going to be aware that it's there. Right. Now it's going to be your job to keep that stuff out. Right. And then we rely on each other a little bit, or at times a lot, and at times none. It's the whole scale, but it's your job to rise. And this is what I tell people. So I show them, I pull it from them. But at first I was like, man, I ain't going to say nothing. I can see through you, through the hologram, into the layer where there's cancer. Shaman Jimmy once told me in the very beginning that he had a vision under Aya that we were healing people by just taking like an object and just walking up to them in the spot that they have an injury, or let's say they have like a tumor inside, and that you would just push it open and pull it out, and no blood would be involved. There's no guts and stuff. He goes, you just pull it out and it's done. And I'm like, how the hell does that happen? He goes, dude, this has been going on. I never heard about that. So when he showed stuff to me and he was talking to me about it, I'm like, you mean the healers are going to be able to do that? The Reiki people can really bring energy in like violet flame to you, and then boom, and it rains that on you and stuff. He's like, man, that's bro. It's the new age movement that twists it and turns it, but it's there. And it's how you decide to use it and how you choose to, are you following someone, or are you doing it for yourself? Are you witnessing it, bearing witness, and then going, oh, I want to do that too? Or you're like, no, that's all right. Carolyn and Frank got it. I just call them whenever I need a clearing.
Yeah.
Which is okay. So, that's important at first, but.
Well, once you experience it. So after I had my healing, you want to know more because you realize that is your natural state. And so now that I feel like I'm in a very healthy place with myself, I am constantly working on myself. I mean, this is like all hours of the day, anytime I'm conscious and even in my dreams. But I've started having these visions when I meditate, and these experiences with my body when I meditate, because I do ultimately feel that my purpose is to heal people. And so I've started having these experiences when I meditate, right? Because my first thought was, well, God, what if I don't know how to do it? What if I do it wrong? And so through these meditations, I'm being shown how to do it, how it will feel in my body when I am healing somebody else. And this is very fresh for me, so it's not something that I really have practiced yet. But I feel like I'm going through these trainings, right, with my guides while I'm meditating. And they're showing me, they're like, okay, you feel that sensation in your body, that like about to jump out, buzzing energy pouring out of you. Yeah, that is the feeling. Stick with that. And I always tell people, even my clients, if you ask, and it will be revealed to you. You have to ask. Be and understand that it's a process too, right? Because they're going to want to do what is best for you. So when I had visuals, that's what I needed. I needed to have those visuals to understand. I needed to have those experiences in my meditation to understand. So I know some people want to jump to the end, right? They just want to jump to the very end of being able to heal and having all of these abilities and being in tune with source, but it will be revealed to you in the right sequence that will be most.
They're avoiding the hard work. That's what that is.
Yeah.
There's an alphabet, and in that alphabet lies, when you go A through Z, you get the whole gnosis, right? But if you jump, because you know Z's there and X is there and W's there, it doesn't mean go A to them. It means, oh, cool, it's there, but you got to do A, B, C, D, or else you go back, right? So if you learn to clear someone and you don't learn that you have to purge that, that's how you get cancer. That's how you get sickness.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get a demon. That's when you call Ghostbusters. All these weird things occur through not learning properly. And I love that you said you're learning from your guides, because I learn from no one. I am taught either from experience being around Paula, because she's awesome, or what I'm being shown and taught and learn in everyday life. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't go looking for that. Like a lot of the stuff I get, and then I look for it like as if I discovered it and it's all out there. And I'm like, well, they've been talking about this forever. And they're like, yeah, well, you've been around forever. So, so like, and I'm like, oh, mind blown. Okay. Time out, guys. Time out.
Yeah.
They're infinite. You can't be killed. Why are you afraid of anything? Well, I might walk into the street, get hit by a car. Don't walk in the street. You won't get hit by a car. Done deal. Well, what about the other stuff? What other stuff? UFOs, aliens, and all that creepy stuff. Did they get you yet? Because if they didn't get you by now, they're not going to get you. Trust me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so basically, the only thing that there is a boot that'll step on your head. They're like, yeah, you go outside and punch someone, they'll punch you back. Right? And then there's stuff that just randomly happens. Outside of that, what are you afraid of? Well, you shouldn't even be afraid of that. What are you afraid of? And I'm like, well, nothing. I feel pretty good. And then that's when it happens. And then also, I always tell people this: if you're the magic person and you're like, I'll believe it when I see it, you're never going to see the magic. I don't care how many rituals you do or whatever. The minute you say, you know what, and you're honest with yourself in that vibration and frequency, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to see the magic. I haven't seen it, and I kind of feel like I'm not doing something or whatever. But, I love you guys. I'm thankful to be here. You mind if we can get this going? And bang, synchronicity 1, 2, 3. But you have to.
Yes.
People look for it, right? But they look over there. Oh, where?
Well,
it comes in any form.
It's a personal journey. It is so personal and so intimate to your soul that, again, it's never going to be something like, I went to this class and I found everything and now I know. No, it will be revealed to you in a very specific sequence that is so specific to your soul and your purpose, declaring that you're ready, reaching out, showing trust and faith in source, right? And what I mean by that is answering the call when you're being led. So even sometimes I would get the craziest sort of callings that would be like, go do this right now. And I wouldn't understand. I would not understand, but I would go do it. And it's almost like building that relationship, right? The more that you build that trust and you prove, okay, I'm going to say yes when I'm called, you're going to be called more because you're answering, you're saying yes, you're putting yourself out there, you're taking the steps. And that's ultimately how it was revealed to me over time.
Little things like,
but it was,
well, do you follow, like, the more advanced this gets, I find myself hearing myself say, I'll walk by something and they'll say, hey, put the cat food down now. Right. And I'm like, yeah, it's 45 minutes till the cat food. And then I won't argue no more. I'll find myself going, hey, let me see. I know it's whatever, but I put it out and then I get locked out. Right. And now I can't get back in my house and it's 3 hours later and they're stuck inside with no food. But now, because, those little things where you're just like, why'd I do that? And then boom, later it's there for you. Like, why did I put this here? I don't need this thing. What the boom, you said something. I needed a pen immediately. But the pen
Done.
was right there. I had everything set up. It's like this weird. It starts there on that little level, right?
Yeah.
Brush your teeth while you're in the bathroom now, so you don't have to walk in later to rebrush them. People will ignore those little things that are heard, and then you go, "Oh, now I got to go brush my teeth, and I got to do this before I talk to this guy." And it's like, dude, you could have handled that 10 minutes ago, right? And then
Well, and sorry, go ahead. You finish.
an easier go through your day, your obstacles.
Yeah. So I kind of thought we were going to talk about this a little bit earlier, but I would like to bring it up now. So I had in the bio that you wrote, or I'm sorry, that you read, you mentioned the WASP program that I had been to.
Yes.
And in this program, it was a behavior modification boarding school in upstate New York. And, you know, a lot of the practices that they had there would be considered highly unethical and probably illegal in 2020. As a child, I went there when I was 14, and we were not allowed to talk at all. We were not allowed to make facial expressions at each other, even like a smile or even a gesture of any kind. No communication of any kind, nonverbal or verbal. I was there for 29 months. But I will tell you, it was during this time of silence that I connected, right? It was during that time of complete silence that I listened. I started being very familiar with my internal world. And so as far as listening to those little nudges, right? I like to think of them as nudges because they're just like, yeah, you should do this. And it's just a real small little voice saying you need to do that. I started tuning into that. But in our society, when we have our cell phones and the TVs on, and we're
Distractions.
Yeah, exactly. We're bumping Kanye on the sound system or whatever. All these little things are keeping you distracted from this influence, this divine influence that is trying to channel through you. So through that experience at that school, as traumatic and frustrating as it was at 14, 15, and 16, that silence, right? And I do this with my clients. I'm like, take a vow of silence today. Just complete silence, right? No music, no talking. You don't need to. It's fine. Just be with yourself. Notice what you have going on. Notice the energy. And that observation and that mindfulness will open up those channels of communication if that's what you're wanting to do.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. All right. So internally, my mind used to look like 50 movie screens going at once, like in the Matrix when Neo was talking to the architect and it was just all the background TVs going.
Mm-hmm.
But that was in the forefront. And then things would like rocket by, ideas, songs, this, that, got to go here, there. So I was a multitasker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to learn to silence my mind. And through practice and lots of experiences psychedelically, they showed me how to dwindle those down to one, and then just the open where you can just put stuff in the void, they say it, or whatever. And things will manifest where you can feel the rush of breeze inside the no screen, right? It's just what's there. And in that time of perfect, it's a beautiful silence because it's still not quiet technically, right? You tune in and it's quiet, but then you hear the other stuff happening. Yes. That 4% tunes into 4.5%, into 5%, into the universe conspiring for you instead of what you think is against you when that's really you. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting. It's like a battle of thoughts, right? It's like, or with your mind.
Well, and how many thoughts do we have that are not ours, right? We have these internal voices that, maybe it's my mother, maybe it's my grandmother, maybe it's an ex-boyfriend that I haven't talked to in, 15 years or whatever, right? But we have these dialogues, these narratives, these, psychic connections with people, with their imprint. And it's really up to us to cleanse that and clear it out, because a lot of times I think people who are not mindful will confuse it for their own voice. You know, they think that they're bipolar. They think that they're going crazy because they have all this stuff passing through all the time. But yeah, we self-mastery starts with mastering your thoughts. You know, looking into your mind, seeing what the heck is actually going on in there. I was thinking the other day, you know, I think I noticed probably about, and I'm not just trying to, you know, big up myself, but I think I probably noticed about 90% of my thoughts, which is how serious I've gotten about doing that inner work of what am I thinking? What am I feeling? I mean, I check in with myself just about nonstop throughout the day.
I'll
You know,
say,
what's going on now?
you know, when guys walk into rooms with other guys, right, they size people up. Or when there's a beautiful girl, they'll say something like, oh, I'd like to be with her. So I've gotten to the point, like you're saying, 90%, where I'll be in the room with someone and I'll hear it come in, right? Like, oh, yeah, you could take that guy, or hey, yeah, she's hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, who said that?
Yeah.
I know that wasn't me. Like, I know it wasn't me. And they'll be like, damn. I'm like, yeah, you're standing right outside the field. And then we don't realize this as we're connecting with others. I couldn't go into the supermarket for a long time because everyone in there hates to shop, or they're in the laundromat. They hate to do laundry on laundry day. And I'm feeling that going, man, I'm depressed, bro. I'm so depressed. Look at the place I'm in. Look at the thing, and look at the food I'm eating, and I have to get out of here. Yeah. And then you run, but it's everywhere. So you're not supposed to run from that stuff. You're supposed to learn from that stuff. So I had to build this resistance. And then when I got my sphere, my personal aura, whatever, at the right, what it needs to be, anything that taps it, now I could hear it. Mm-hmm. So even if it's my voice coming through, I'll be like, I know that wasn't me. Mm-hmm. But that takes a lot of practice, a lot. And you'll battle that all night sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, I mean, this is a constant thing in my life. But so as far as, you know, hearing these intrusive thoughts, hearing things that you know are not coming from you, I will literally just imagine sending it love. I'm like, that's not me. I love you. I understand your suffering. I'm sending you love. And that quiets it, right? It quiets it, because what it wants is for you to engage and get frustrated and feel like, you know, guilty about having that thought, or, you know, because you know that that's not truly how you feel. So really love cures everything, right?
I'll feel them there and I'll try to fight them, right? I'll be like, oh, you want to say that? And then when I go to hit them, nothing happens. Yeah. Spiritually, nothing happens. They're like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'll choke the life out of you. Nothing happens. What are you doing? And then I'm like, you know what, bro? I love you. Come over here. Let me give you a hug. And they're like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely changes. Because you'll want to first, oh, I'll fight you. It's like, don't get involved with the war of the gods. When you scream at the black goo gets bigger.
Yeah.
As you fear the demon, it gets bigger and stronger.
Yes.
You pull the rug out from under it the minute you go, hey, I love you. You want to share some cake? I brought cake. And then they're like, wait, what? I don't understand. Yeah, it's birthday cake. I love you. It's your birthday. And they just, that was my little joke to them, because I didn't know what to do. So I always thought the whole structure to me, the spiraling up into the small port and the spiraling back down, looks like a birthday cake. It's like tears. And then we're like making our way back up. So I'm like, it looks like a birthday cake. It acts like a birthday cake. Who wants to share cake with the creator? And the demon going to sit in a room with you and want to deal with that. Because that involves love and singing and dancing and caressing. Come over here. Let me give you a big hug, big guy. And they're like, no. Because you spread just like the light, just like they spread the darkness.
Exactly. Right? And so it is about tapping into that presence and that power. And so back when I first started having these visions, and, you know, I mentioned I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to approach them. And so several times I remember walking around the house and I would just be like, F you, and I'm like, you know, so mad, so angry at all of it.
They'll fight you. They'll enjoy that. When you go, come on, fight, they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're in there fighting. That's why they say don't get involved with those wars with
Oh
the
no.
gods and stuff. If you
Yeah.
step out, they don't do nothing to you. They can't
I
get you.
So I actually had a spiritual attack after that, which, but what was interesting at the time is I also felt like my angels around me were also kind of holding my hand through it. So I didn't like feel alone, or which of course we never are. We're never disconnected. But it wasn't until I said, more casual about it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hang out. I'm just gonna hang out here at the house. Hey, you over there, and just being really nonchalant about it and having that looseness, right? It created space for love. It created space for light. But when you're having that engagement and that anger and that frustration, which is coming from fear, there's no room for love. So there's no room for that light to come in.
Right. I'll sit there and watch them and go, you're not supposed to be doing that, right? Especially in this bubble. And they're like, bye. And they'll just, and then I'll realize I let my bubble down and this thing got in. But it was a joke, because when you're smiling and laughing and in that flow state, I don't think there's anything that can touch any creator in that position. That is like the wonder position, right? Michael Jordan scoring 50 points in a game. He's like, I don't even remember. I was just flowing, right? When a rapper's on stage just going textbooks worth of material memorized. I don't remember it, man. I just did it. What was the best show I've ever seen? Those guys are just flowing in the moment. We're supposed to live that way.
Exactly. It's not about trying, right? It's not like I sit down every day and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to try to be happy right now.
Right.
I'm trying. Like, no, it's about being. It's about connecting and honoring your true essence, your true nature. And that is the truth, and that's the ultimate truth. And I think anything past that is an illusion.
Yeah, for sure. And you know how I try to give people a little how do you do this when they ask, and I do it through music. So if I'm singing a song and I'm still thinking about what I got to do when I get out of the shower and the 50 other things I have for later in the day, and I'm singing the song never sounds good. It's all right. You feel the rhythm, whatever. But when you're singing and there's nothing but the song in you, right? And you're just in that moment with the song where there's nothing, you're not even thinking about the next lyric. You already know what it is. So you're just singing it. And then you're able to like do a little, you're in the now moment. At that moment, there is nothing else but that.
Exactly.
So those are jump off points. When you're in I'm sure people do this in the car. You start singing and you really get into it and you forget you're in the car and people are looking at you and you're just having time. Those are those moments, when runners get runners high. Those are those moments, right? We achieve those in many different ways, and there's no wrong way or right way. There's just my way and your way. There's no wrong pathway to this. I just, when people always talk to me, what about rituals and this and that? I'm like, rituals are good. Everything's a ritual. Brushing your teeth's a ritual. Getting up in the morning and, combing your hair's a ritual. We live by rituals, but to think you gain power from rituals and stuff like that, which you could, we see it right now in the power structures, but when you can just do and don't need, right? So that's the difference between Jedi going through his way. The light being coming online doesn't need all that. Like we have our crystals and we have our mantras and stuff until you realize you do all those until you become it. You literally are that. We're supposedly changing into a crystalline structure. So you become the crystal. You become the mantra. You sing the song. Your voice is the frequency and the vibration. Your thoughts and your patterns and your intent, that's all there. You want magic? Put a little movement to some intent with a thought, push it out and mean it and do it with grateful and thankful and with a little love and caring, but with meaning and firmness if you have to. You're also in a holographic state in a biological machine. You could command function something, right? But you can't do it. I command you. Like, be like, listen, it's the creator now. The one, me, I recognize you, you recognize me. It's time to do this now. You put the little now at the end of your statement. It means now, not next week, not next month, not some random moment. It means right now. It's like a command function. Hit, let's go here now, right? So when you
Right.
start living that way, you start realizing the now moment. What do they mean, the now moment? What do they mean? Like, here's another one. This is something I've learned to do. Well, I got meditation at 3. I got this at that, whatever. And I'm standing in the sun and I have 5 minutes to kill. And they're like, why don't you just meditate now? And at 3 o'clock, you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, no, but at 3 o'clock, I got to do from 3 to 3:15 to 3:35. And they're like, really? You're standing in the sun. And I didn't understand that. So I just never been a better time than right now. The thought passes through. If I'm capable of doing it in that moment, I just do it.
Yeah.
I do it. If it takes 5 minutes before, when I sat with my paperwork, it took 15 minutes, but it took me 2 years to do it. So
Exactly.
I was like, that's it. They're like, yeah, sign your name and you put the thing on the end and then the date and the time. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you're not a dummy. You have a double associates. What's wrong with you? And I have associates in psychology, by the way.
Oh,
And
do you? Cool.
when I thought I was going to be like a detective or something like that one day. And I was really getting into that, how people work. And I found myself already knowing all this.
Right. Yeah.
Everything I went through was just a study in each person's personality structure. And as a ayahuasca shaman, I have to do the exact same thing, right? If you lie to me, the interactions could be dangerous. If you're a certain way and I'm not realizing it, it could be dangerous, right? If I'm not prepared for something. So I have to go through these steps and these structures in this environment to make sure that the person is A, B, C, D. And I could see where you're coming from. If you're narcissistic, you ain't coming. You know, you're not going to see anything. You know, I have those, the skeptical, and then the one that comes in is just, look, I want to be healed. And they're sitting next to each other. One person has the full experience. Someone will walk in the room and start healing them. Ayahuasca will be there. And the other person will be sitting there seeing sacred geometry patterns. And in an hour, it's over. And the other person for 7 hours, they took the exact same thing. Right. And then some people see nothing and others take a sip and it's like an explosion. Right. So it's each individual. So don't ever try to be like, Caroline, don't try to be like Frank. Try to be you, the greatest you can be, because that's what we're doing. We're getting those little inserts and we're like, what is this? Well, let's open it up. Sun rays, it gives information. Great, let's pass it on. You know, and then we gain abilities as we go, the healing, the readings. Like I you know, it's funny. I didn't want to ever do that to people, the readings. I get nervous, you know, like what if I mess up, or clearings was a big one. And like, I don't want to clear you. I do it to Paula, and then I feel like, should I bring it out of my house? And then I'm looking and it just starts focusing on that person. That person gives me permission and it starts working. And I'm like, oh, wow, I could literally do this. And they're like, yeah, you're more the ayahuasca shaman, but yeah, you can do that. But then you got to practice it and it becomes slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that. They're like, you could do anything. Stop putting yourself here. You could do, why not you? Why are you not worthy? Why do you think you're not worthy? Well, when I was little, my dad said this. Well, so what? You're still worthy. You're the creator. It's hard to get people into those layers. You know, we smoke cigarettes and we do cocaine or something, drink alcohol. We eat the wrong foods and we're killing ourselves. And then all of a sudden the light comes on and it starts reversing. You want fresh, clean water. You only want good food. I only want good conversation. I don't want to be around none of the negativity. I stopped even watching horror movies. It was my favorite stuff.
Yes.
I don't even watch it. No, I can't. I'm like, the rituals are actually in the movie. So if you open, you see them flying out of your TV. I'm like, shut the TV.
No, I'm telling you, that's so literally just maybe 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend had a movie on and I was just like, okay, something about this is not right. They're using actual names, they're using actual, and not to mention, once you tune into that feeling nature that you have, that ability to connect to people's energy, even seeing images of violence like that, it's too much. It's too much. I don't want to see that. I don't find it entertaining. I'm not watching it like, whoa.
Right? Like, don't you feel like you've already been through that? Like, we're witnessing it. You're like, yeah, that's what it looks like, but that's not what we want anymore.
There's just nothing in it.
I'm like, nah, it's flat, right? You're looking at it for what it is. Oh yeah, monsters killing, and then you're just, it does something to you, right? And then as you're watching, when you were saying they're doing the rituals live in the movie, they'll have the book book in the background on the shelf while they're saying certain things at the table, and they'll make it look like a family dinner and they all hold hands and they're doing a ritual, and you're like, wow, what the hell is this? When you get to our level, that starts breaking through, and the magic box on your wall that projects pictures, you start seeing what that really is.
Exactly.
Now, have you had that? All right, let me ask you a question. Have you had an
Sure.
experience where you've seen any of the demonics through the electronics?
I have. I don't really know how to describe it. Actually, more so what I saw would be like in the reflection of a TV. So it wouldn't be on the TV, but I could tell that it's acting as a, uh, for lack of a better word, like a portal, right? It's acting like, so it's this reflective surface. And then, like you were saying, what's embedded in these movies and music, anything that we digest, right? We're digesting it mentally, we're digesting it with our eyes, with our stomach, with our hearts, all of it, we're taking it in. And now when I see that kind of crap, it just gives me a sinking feeling that I'm like,
It's the magic ball, right? So you
mhm,
stare into it, or you stare into the void or into the darkness, and eventually something stares back at you. But
mhm,
under DMT, I looked at the TV quite a bunch of times, and I can't actually see the TV when it's on, but I can see the light that
mhm,
it's emanating. And the phone broadcasts it. It makes it like a few feet out. So like the distance from your arm to your face, your completely head is enveloped in that light.
mhm,
Now, when you're watching the TV, it's a bunch of signals, just flickering lights doing this. And I can see the encoded message as if it was just written there, or the face, like you're saying,
mhm.
is just there. And as you're just watching is permission for it to come through. So
Exactly.
it's like when in Lord of the Rings, when Frodo's buddy stared into that magic ball, and then the evil guy saw him and started coming through to see where they were, and then Gandalf the Grey throws the towel over it, and he's like, "Cover that, get back." You stare
Mhm,
into that, it's going to look back at you. It's going to know what you're doing, going to know where you are, whatever. So they built these devices to be that way. So
mhm.
having a healthy knowledge of that is important, even though you can still enjoy your shows and stuff. It's when you get lost for hours and it's not a moderated thing and there's no awareness of it, and you start to think like, oh, days of our lives is how we should act every day. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, that's not how people act. Don't watch the Hallmark channel and think that people are really like that all day long.
Yeah.
Majority of people are not like that, and life doesn't live that way. And it's not this false romantic hope that that's all cute, but if you just activate and turn on, all of that stuff becomes real. The Cinderella story, the hero's journey, the proper way, instead of the corrupted version of it where you watch it, it's like, I don't want to watch that stuff, I want to experience this stuff.
Right.
So you have to get that energy going.
That's actually one of my biggest goals for 2020, because I will say, for the most part, I don't really even watch TV that much, and I have Gaia TV, so for the most part, I'll watch Gaia, or I'll watch, things that are more positive and constructive, but with my music.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So, I I have always had a healthy love for rap, for hip hop, and in the past several years, actually, there's just some things I can't listen to. I'll start hearing the language that they're using, or even the beat, and I feel this darkness in it.
Yeah.
And so I filtered a lot of that out. There's still some things that may not necessarily be negative, but it's mindless. And so in that, it's still a distraction because it's mindlessness. And so I'm really working on that in 2020 to make sure that what I am taking into my body is coming from a pure place and coming from light and source and love and energy to support my mission. Because, how could I possibly go heal people if I'm taking in all this crap, eating Cheetos, watching horror movies, listening to, whoever?
Yeah, we have to become the example. I tell Paula
Hmm.
this all the time. The whole time on the Aya, she's like, you guys are the example to show it could be done, not to shine as the example. So you're the guy. It's like,
No,
no, no, no. It's to show that you can do it. That's
exactly.
it. And then you are to do your version of whatever it is you need to do. And you take from us whatever you need. If you need help, we're there. But you're going to have to do it. Right.
That's right.
But there's something so beautiful about that. Right. Not having to, It's like not when I learned how to change the light switches out in the house. People say, well, you don't know how to change a light switch. No, I didn't. So I looked on YouTube. I shut the power off my house. I learned how to do it. And I did it. And then there was this like outstanding confidence that I have to pay $60 just for the guy to show up and go, oh, okay. And then for the 5 minutes he's here, pay him another $60 or something when it cost me $7 for the piece. And then I just took 2 minutes out of my day and did it. 15 if you watch the video, 20 minutes if you count Frank being nervous the whole time, right? And prior to that, being nervous and scared the whole time. You're gonna put this hat. You want me to hang that picture? Well, what if it's crooked? Just hang the picture, man. Just measure it, hang it up. But what it would, shouldn't it be better over that? Dude, stop thinking like that. Just take that hammer nail. But I'll ruin the wall. We'll just put the putty on it, fix it, and we'll put it right.
Yeah.
Unless you get out there out of your comfort zone and do it, you're never going to do it. Well, guess what? I hung everything in this house. I was scared to hang anything. So these little stupid things that aren't really stupid, right? It's us.
Yeah.
We're like, whoa. And now we sit on this other place as we destroy these old ridiculous fears, right? There are some legitimate ones. Well, don't stick your hand in a vat of acid. If the floor's lava, jump on the couch. Simple. We did it.
Happens to me all the time. I mean, that is very useful survival information.
But that's what this goes to. You know, the further we get in this, the easier it becomes. But that's the hardest stuff. Oh, just love one another. Just love yourself. Oh, yeah. Well, how am I supposed to do that with all this? Then you go back to A.
Right.
Like, well,
exactly.
B, start at A. You know?
Well, and, you know, sometimes I still go back there. Like, oh, gosh, maybe 2 months ago, we had someone who started leaking all of these documents from that WASP boarding school that I had gone to, right? And so all of us in this group are seeing these like internal emails and pictures and all of these things. And I am so serious when like it sent me into like I was 14 again, right? All of a sudden I'm back at square one and having the same emotions, feeling that powerlessness, right? You re-experience it. But what I realized about that was because it would be so easy to jump off that cliff and just think, well, I've ruined it. I've got to start all over now. What it was really about is me bringing my knowledge that I have now, my experience that I have now, and being able to hold my past self's hand through that experience and heal myself. Right.
Oh, yeah. So I've experienced traumas from other versions of myself, and that character wants to lash out, and I'll just notice them and I'll go, hey, what are you doing? And he'll go look over at me. Oh, you're me. I'll be like, come over here. Somebody needs a hug, Big Daddy. Right. And then you heal them. I know that to me mentally is me going and then starting the process. No, don't throw the first punch. No, don't be there when that occurs. No, come stand over here and look at that instead of this. And then this healing process from the trauma that was already done. You don't let the traumas repeat and keep beating you.
Exactly.
You enough of that. Let's heal this now. We've had enough. I've gone onto Aya and I've been tortured in past experiences. My DNA has been stolen. My children have been taken. I've been tagged. I got one in my chest, one in my ear, one in my foot, one in my back, and it's all different characters. I've had them in my house and everything, and I still, to this day, I'm good. I'm good. And as it rolls, I'm in my best state of life. And then as you catch me, if you catch me in that moment, you're never. Whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, if it's not in the optimum timeline, the highest frequency, it's just not going to work.
Exactly.
You know, I've had the beings in my house and the science behind it with them going boom, 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 whatever they're using on you, like their abilities are way stronger than mine at the moment, right? But I would go, no, get out of here. And it would just not work. Whereas in the past, that was what was giving you the headache, or that was making you go, no, you know what? I'm going to take the anti-anxiety pill because all this stuff's happening instead of just facing it. Like I've learned to just smoke weed and relax. Like just relax. If you need it, that's nature's way of saying whatever. This is groovy. If it's not enough, if you're smoking it, you can eat it. It'll make you feel better this way, and this way. Do everything in moderation. Learn, so now I don't rush for the pill. Well, I never really rushed for the pill, but there were moments where I'm like, bro, give me that. I'll take that right now. It's like, dude, maybe you just need water. You have a headache. When was the last giant glass of water you drank that was fresh? And they're like, oh, the water isn't going to help my headache. I'm like, oh, you want to bet me on that? You want to take the 20 minutes it'll take for you to drink the water? Because the headache is, the body's already told you 5,000 times you need the water. Now you got the headache, right? And you know how many people dehydrated? I watched so many old people collapse, right? And then
I'm just laughing. I love this. No, we're getting back to the basics. This is a part of it. Absolutely.
Right? And they go, oh, they're dehydrated. And I go, right, Grandpa, when was the last time you drank a cup of water? A cup of water? I got the one from the other day still sitting over there. Oh, so you drank no water in multiple days, but you've had coffee and ice cream and stuff, crap. And now you want to know why the ambulance is here. Okay. You're not listening to, so I knew I should have had that water. You need a lot of water.
Yeah. Every day.
I drink, and he was like, are you out of control? I'm like, he goes, don't you pee all the time? I go, your body regulates. The first day, yeah, maybe 2 days when you're getting all that crap out. And then you could drink as much as you want. You start not having meals and feeling great. And you're not in the bathroom all the time. Your body's built to do this. Right. But right away, we're like, no, I need the pharmaceutical. But look at those pharmaceutical commercials, right? Will cause, castration, imbalance, throwing up. You'll fall off the toilet seat and hit your head on the floor.
Right.
Your spleen will rupture, but don't worry, your sinuses will be clear.
Yeah,
if you're taking anything else, because you might die. Let's take it right now.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many people. And like, I had a friend of mine. Her grandma was in a nursing home and she was on Lyrica. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. They give it for fibromyalgia and all kinds of other stuff. Well, it will literally make you audibly hallucinate, right? And in like just nonsense, And anyway, so her grandma started having these hallucinations. Well, all the doctors think that she's senile and has developed dementia. And so then they start we've got to put her on this other sedative and then this antipsychotic. And, before you know, and here's the thing. Doctors don't know what they're doing. They know what they're being taught, right? A lot of it is not intuitive. It's in a book. And, so when it comes down to things like, actually one time I had a bad viral infection. It was bad. I felt, it's just horrible. I was suffering. I had a fever of like 103 for several days. And so I asked the doctor, who was the head doctor in the ER, and I said, so do you have any recommendations for things that I should be eating or drinking or anything that could help kill what is taking place here? And he said, they really didn't teach us that in med school. And he said, maybe we spent like 2 weeks on it. And that freaking blew my mind. Like, wait a second, you're going to cut people's bodies open to take things out or stitch things up or, whatever. But you can't tell me to drink some hot lemon water with some ginger and turmeric. And, like, you see what I'm saying? I'm like, how do you not have literally any knowledge?
Science.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but that's worked forever.
Yeah. And what do you think there is in food? There's alkaloids and chemicals and amino acids and all other sorts of things that are meant to heal us. That's what
to be a federal inspector for the USDA, and I was at my doctor's office, and I said to him, so you're going to try to give me that flu shot with all that stuff in it? And he goes, I went to school to become the doctor. I've been a doctor for 40 years. He's like, I knew you when you were in diapers. I go, okay, so I grew up, right? I'm 45 now, okay? I became a federal inspector for the USDA, and I was throwing that at him. And I'm like, I know the chemicals that are in there. We literally are told what is in there. And he's looking at me. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me that insert. He gave me that stupid one sheet, and I said, take this, throw it. Give me the little one that opens this big. And on the first line, it said could cause suicidal tendencies, this, that, the other thing. And he was like, well, you don't spend a lot of time on what new products that you just take for free and hand to people. Doctor. He threw me out, but I kept going. It's like, He tried to give me the N1H1, H1N1, whatever. And I was like, no. And he goes, no, it's not the one you think. It's the other one. And I go, I don't know what you're talking about. So I had my phone. I said, let me see that bottle. I typed right into Google. It took me right to Novartis's website or whatever it was, and said right what it was right there. And he was like, get out of my office. And I go, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm trying to explain to you. We grow up and become men, right? And you haven't picked up a book in 40 years. He goes, well, I go to conferences and I do this. I go, your pictures from the conferences with Joe Namath are beautiful. How much cocaine did you do? How many people did you sleep with while you were there?
Yeah.
How many people took you out to dinner, right? Did you buy the nice car and drive it there so you look good in the? Don't bullshit me. I'm the biggest bullshitter that there is, right? I'm a hip hop artist on top of this. Come on, guys, right? You're not gonna get one by me, and they could never ever be straight with you. Right. So it's what they're being taught. And then that education that costs $1 bazillion, right? They stand on that like it's a step stool. Now there's stuff, if I have a broken arm, I'm coming to you. If something happens, right? I get like a deadly parasite. But the majority of stuff, you're not healing anyone. You're just like covering the problem up.
But also, and the reason why we would go to a doctor is not only because, okay, they have the skill set to do things like surgery. I'm not necessarily wanting to perform surgery on someone, but they are the ones who have the tools to actually perform tests, to actually, you know what I mean? Those things are off limits to us.
Right.
And
but those tests are off limits to them. They have them, but they read it in the book.
right, exactly. They don't really know. And as far as, going through med school and being a doctor and all of that, I mean, it's such an ego trip, and they make it such a huge thing. They have the white coat ceremony, which, I'm proud of anybody who has the dedication to go through that sort of commitment. But really what it's contributing to our society is doctors who do not have the humility to listen to accurate information.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, 40% of your patients can be cured with eating properly and exercise or whatever, things like that. And you're just handing out drugs to them instead of telling them that, then you're doing a disservice, no matter how much smarter you think you are than everyone else. Some people are great at brain surgery, then they go run for president and you hear what they're actually like. And you're like, oh, so he's a dummy. But he can do brain science better than anyone, which is cool. You need the guy to break open a skull and do that. He's got the best hands in the business. Then you hear him talk and you go, we cannot have this guy as president because everything else doesn't really work with it. Right. So it's like, oh, we need those specific doctors for specific things, but they don't teach anyone health.
Right. It's diagnose, surgery, and then put them on some kind of medication for the rest of their lives. And too, I was researching one day about pharmaceutical sales because I got some email or something from LinkedIn that was like, Caroline, there's a job in your area that'll pay $80,000 a year, pharmaceutical sales. You don't even have to have a degree to be selling this medication to these doctors. So the doctors are getting the medications from people who don't know anything about it. They could pretty much just have a GED or nothing at all. And so it's all really the pharmaceutical companies, which I think we know that.
Well, we know those head up guys give the guys that go out to hand doctors free samples, they give them one sheets and bullet notes. If you dig too deep after those 7 questions, they don't know how to answer it.
No.
Even though the answer's in that giant thing that you can pull out and twist and turn. It's like that big. All the answers are right there. If you actually read that, you'd have a heart attack. Right? It's crazy. So I have another question for you.
Sure.
And what do you feel about, how do I phrase this? About the UFO communities and the because this involves us, I guess, having the site as well. The UFO communities and the other communities that seem to be like the Corey Goods of the world, or the David, I don't know if you know any of these people, David Wilcox. Well, you're on Gaia, right? You have Gaia, like those characters and how they're pushing and promoting there's a little bit of a new age agenda mixed in there. Do you see that?
I do.
Do you see readings and stuff, others that like get abducted, or any connections to that?
So I'll be honest with you. This is definitely something that I am still learning about in my journey. I'm not very articulate when it comes to, the different communities in that aspect. But when I listen to my intuition, I'm like, you have to notice how your body responds to these things. If you start feeling like you want to pull back from it and look at it deeper, then there's probably something not right there. But yeah, I do watch Gaia, but I'll be honest, I stay away from some of that stuff.
I
I
found myself never not listening to it anymore, ever.
hmm
Like any of I don't know. I got like one or two people when they do readings, I really focus in on, and there's a lot of people in the Fearless family. They have it, they don't realize it yet.
hmm
And it's like the answers are within the questions they're asking, and then we all seem to be in that collective consciousness. But there's so much BS out there that it kind of, I don't know, man. I guess it's another distraction that drives narratives into other directions. But I find myself in weird moments because I've met some of those beings that they talk about, yet
hmm
some of the stuff they embellish on is just bullshit, right? Like some of the stuff they're saying, I'm like, okay, I don't know about any of that, but I literally saw that character, stood with them, spoke to them, touched them
hmm
to make sure that I wasn't losing it. And then it was very simple. They would explain to me if anyone rolls up on you and is not 100% for you, healing yourself, becoming more, you the creator, it's all about you, and with no agenda, it's all groovy. The minute they start strapping agendas onto it, you got to get out of there immediately, you know.
Right.
So
Typically, I feel like you can tell because it's going to be sensational. It's going to be sensationalized, right? It's going to be like explosions and some smoke and mirrors type of thing because they want people to be like, whoa. When the real deal is even crazier. I have seen vessels come into the sky and open and release beings down into the planet, but it's not a UFO. It's not a,
I think
I don't know how
it's
to.
just the words we have right now, but I think I know where you're going. It's not
Right,
like your typical UFO thing. It's more like a consciousness or something coming in, and it's like
right.
it's if we could just see a little more all the time, like raise that awareness to 10%, I think we would
Uh-huh.
just be seeing that stuff in the air.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's how when I really started looking towards the sky, I was having visuals already. But when I saw this, it was like a pod. I don't know how to really. I can probably draw a picture of it, but it looks like a pod, and then it has kind of this door in the front a little bit, like of course, it's all made from light. And But it just opened up and kind of released these entities out into the world. um I forget where I was going with that. I'm sorry. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I hate when that happens, and it's just literally like nothing up there anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, really, it's you have to use discernment with what people put on TV because
Right.
they're trying to get ratings. They're trying to get people all scared and freaked out about these aliens who are going to come down and abduct you. When really, like you said, it's all around us. It's all around us at all times. It's not about someone hopping in a like a car, right? Hopping into the spaceship and shuttling down to planet Earth. I think it's just absolutely around us at all times.
Right. It definitely is. I've had arguments with Anu, the great Anu, that everybody's like, "Oh, you mean the God of the Old Testament kind of stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's like a sixth or seventh density being that won't come here because they're waiting for the frequency to change." So there's a bunch of us that have come through that line, and they come and they talk to us, and I'll be like, "Well, what does that have to do with me?" And they'll say, "Well, you're this, and your DNA goes this way." And I'll go, "Okay, well, what does that have to do with Mother Earth?" And they'll go, "Well, we're just going to do what we got to do." I'm like, "Did you ask her permission? You do realize you're speaking to the creator. I'm not actually speaking to dad at like God, because I'm from 15. Where are you from? 7? Okay. So we're going to stop that right now, because there's been a lot of things with like Project Bluebeam where they create it in the air. Then there's things like the moon hologram matrix. Like as we learn, as we go through, there's all these different things, and that produces a frequency that is projected at us from there. I've seen it projected from Saturn, the rings, but now the rings are slowly going away. So now there's not this external frequency hitting us, telling us at all times, stay in frequency 4, stay in frequency 4, whatever that keeps us in like a purgatory of not being able to rise up and out. So then you look at an alien and you're like, oh, cool, the next big thing. And I'm going, nah. Like, we can't rock with aliens and UFOs and think like that's the greatest thing. You're the greatest thing. You're not from here. You're the true ET. You're the, like, if you looked at yourself in the mirror, you'd be in shock. You'd be, what is this beautiful divine creature, right? Yes. And then you have a gray alien. Right. It's like, what is bigger and what is more important here? So I was curious how you felt about that specific distraction or element to things, because I feel like that's next. And I wonder what people who see, because I see them in that frequency waiting or coming through, trying to disseminate it down to another thing to tell me or to interest me in something, a distraction. And I'm like, nah, man, I don't really think at this point that's it. I think my transformation is pretty much the legit thing here. Anything less than that, if you're not including that on your awesomeness, then you're not for me. And I back out of that distraction.
Exactly. And I think you're right. And I mean, maybe that's why I just haven't really researched that much of that side of things, because I feel like it starts getting so muddy and convoluted. And to me, that is not what the truth is. The truth is simple. The truth is just knowing. It's just being. And so, like I said, I mean, yeah, once it starts getting bogged down with conspiracy and fear and things like that, that's not the truth. And so I never even go down that path.
So let's bring it around back to you now, what you do, right? And then you have clients. Does any of your readings, or first, let's have you explain exactly what you do, what you offer.
So starting about 6 months ago, and like I said, I've been working in mental health for the past 6 years. I loved my job. I was able to really connect with local families who were in crisis, and maybe they were going under spiritual attack as well. And within that realm, right, I was working for the state, so you can imagine my realm was relatively limited with what I could do to help. But it was so rewarding. And I knew that was my purpose, was to help people in this way, was to help them see the light. And so once I broke away from that job, I knew that it was my time to get into some sort of healing service. And so I am a women's life coach. As of right now, I do work specifically with women, mostly because I have had men who try to contact me and they're like, I think I need a coach. And then it ends up being some intention that is just not really with what I'm about. But I am open to work with anybody. I'm not limited to, I don't want to say that I won't work with men. It has to be the right fit. It has to be someone with good, pure intentions, and it has to be the right match. But yes, I work with them on all levels. Right now, really my focus is shadow work. Because I feel like that's where the healing happens. Once that shadow work is done, once it gets started, I'll say that. Once your shadow, I don't know if it'll ever be done, but once your shadow work gets started and you're able to go back and see what kind of limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, about the world, right, that are keeping you trapped, keeping you disconnected from source, from light. That is the main goal of what I do with my clients. I work one-on-one. I've got several different courses that are live that you can purchase and just log in and take the courses. All of those are also structured in a way to get rid of the old, shed the limiting beliefs, heal trauma, and essentially move into your power, move into being connected with your spirit guides, being connected with source energy, and living your purpose here. That is my absolute mission. And like I said, I feel that is my sole purpose. That is why I'm here, is to help people and to guide them towards the light.
That's pretty awesome. That's really awesome. I'm showing everyone at
Thank
home right now. I'm bringing up um, the Divine Development page just so they get a visual on it, and your YouTube page. You know, and another reason why I asked the UFO question, the alien question, as you're healing people, right? Like when Paula and I went through the healings, we were doing it ourselves, right? So it came up that we were abducted multiple times. We were taken and then put back, right? And then there
you.
was moments of missing time, and there was other moments where I had missing time where I thought I was blackout drunk from alcohol, but I never drank
Mhm.
the alcohol. I found the alcohol still sitting there, and there's missing time. Under Aya, we had to go back to these experiences where they took our children lifetime after lifetime, taking the DNA, literally doing harm. Now, there's all of that kind of healing that needs to be done with this, but at the same time, there's basic stuff, life trauma. Dad
Mhm.
punched me in the face when I was a kid. Mom kicked me down a flight of stairs, or no one gave a crap. So there's realer stuff. I went to jail and now I'm trying to get my stuff together. I need a life coach. But any of that stuff can come up at any
Exactly.
time. It's like something weird that I was never prepared for. Like I was like, oh, they did that to me. That's why I'm so like this. Oh, I
Mhm.
sleep in shifts because they were taking us up and down. They would grab her, they'd grab me, they bring her back, and I'd be like, oh, you're fine, you're here. Boom, I'm gone, back again. And each
Mhm.
one would keep missing. We'd start sleeping in shifts. So weird. But that was a major, major trauma outside of the
Mhm.
parents being divorced, outside of, getting beat up at school. Hey, cut it out. Sorry about
You're fine.
that. Kitten. Um, So we have to be prepared at all times for all the different things that exist out there that can
Yes.
totally, cause those
Well,
things.
I love it.
Sorry, they're across the house. I can't get to them.
Right. Got him. No, and you're right. And so, I mean, here's the thing, though. I feel like my soul calling, as of right now, and it will change over the years as I progress and grow and get more and more clarity. But right now, I feel like it's my mission to reach out to the people who are lost, right? Reach out to the people that don't have any idea about this unseen world around them. And of course, like I said, I'll work with anybody, depending on your level. But I feel like those are the people who need it most. Those are the people who are completely unaware, who are completely blinded. And so they're living in their trauma, like, mom or dad punched them in the face, and they're upset about it and they're hurt about it. So that ultimately healing those wounds, right? It'll let them, like I said at the beginning of our interview, when you feel safe, you can open. When you feel secure, you can be in tune with your energy centers, and you will master that side of yourself, where ultimately you'll tap into your spiritual abilities, your healing abilities. So that's where it starts with me. We start with that trauma, and then we move from there, depending on what my client needs, and that's where my intuition comes into play.
That's fantastic. I'm super excited that you came on today so we get to know you, right? That's why we just have a conversation. And then within that, twist it back around. Why is it special? What do we do? What are we here to help with? Like,
Mhm.
what does Frank do? Frank's an ayahuasca shaman. I could do a couple other things. What does Carolyn do? She does all these other things, and Frank has no clue. Like I can't life coach because I'll be like, bitch, get up, right? Like, but some people need that. They want that, private pile, stand up into your manhood. Like they want that, where others just are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's wrong. I just can't get out of bed
Yeah.
in the morning. Right.
Hmm.
Like, let's start there. So it's
Yeah.
wonderful that we have all these minds coming together, all these consciousnesses trying to fulfill purpose, because it's all coming online now. We're being activated, and now it's time to, it's like the training wheels are off. We got to
Yes.
get out there and we got to make this happen now. Right.
Yes.
It's important to have these communities where we come together and we grow and we learn. And then it's like we learn something and then we have to learn to forget that because it's now this other thing. And then it's
Hmm.
constantly changing, but that's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay. Right. Someone says to their higher self, um, oh my God, is it going to be all right? Is it going to be all right? And your higher self's like, it's all right. And you're like, isn't it going to be okay? It's okay.
You're fine.
Right. So someday it's going to be all right. Right. No, it's okay.
Right now.
Right now. It's okay. Just relax. It's you experiencing that. No one else, nothing else. Right. Like, so we got to tweak and fix and adjust so the body can evolve properly.
Exactly. Right? Yes. And that's part of what I do. I hold up a mirror for people, right? I give them insight. I show them where there's these illusions in their thoughts, because we all have it. I had to do my work, and I still probably have it about some stuff. I question all my thoughts. I'm like, do I really feel that way? Is this a real thought? Is that, but that's where the magic happens, right? You have these people who break out of these narratives that they've had about their lives. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm tired. I've never had energy. I've never been the type of person to work out, whatever it is. And so they get trapped in these narratives, and it distracts them from their true purpose. So I feel like if I can break that open and show them their essence, they will be led the rest of the way.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And, everyone that's listening, Fearless family, friends, go find your path, find your journey, and find those that resonate with you along that. And then take the chance to step out of your comfort zone. You're not alone with the stuff that's going on, right? You got guys like me, you got girls like Carolyn and Paula that are just, we're there. And it's time to retake control. It's right time to get that control back. It's so important. It makes life so much better. Is there anything that you want to talk to the audience about before we lock up shop this evening?
Well, it has been such a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much. And my friend Gina put me in touch with you a few years ago. And really, that is what started me being able to jump back into my divine purpose, jump back into my soul mission. I think Source wanted me to get stable for a couple years after I, had to overcome all of that trauma and get myself healthy again. And so your show for me was the rushing back in of my spiritual purpose. So really, thank you.
Thank you.
It's truly an honor. Thank you so much. And I love all you guys. If you need anything, want to talk to somebody, like that is what I'm here for. I know some people get in their minds about, I don't want to bother her or, whatever. No, I freaking love it. Like when my inbox lights up and it's someone just wanting to talk about some stuff going on in their life, I'm right there. Everything else stops, right? I'm right there for you guys. Again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for having me on your show. It has been an incredible experience.
I listen, I love you a lot. I know you've been with us in the Fearless family and everything. Gina is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit from Gina. We also are friends with Will.
Yeah.
I saw your interview, by the way. Fantastic.
Thank you.
One of the things all right, so we're here. So I forgot all about this. So check this out. I was watching that video going, well, Will's audience is not really us, right?
Yeah.
But we ride the truth, right?
Yeah.
And then people are starting to have these experiences. So I was like, wow, she's got a set on her to go out on Will's show first, right? To be like, hey, I'm here. Let's talk about, astrology or astronomy or readings or whatever. And Will's mind is blown because I talked to him. He's like, he's in it now. He's seeing it. I'm like, Will, when you go after them and you're like, yeah, you're a pervert, you're this, you're that. I'm on the other side with their demon, like one for you. Once you unlock from him, you're getting transmuted, right? I go to the rituals where they're drinking the people don't like to hear this stuff. That's where I go spiritually. I send myself to that now moment. Where's the kid again? Who they eating, filleting this time? Well, okay, there. I get there before everyone. I start taking pages out of their book. I start kicking stuff over. I make it very uncomfortable for everyone to try to live through that now moment. Mm-hmm. Doing everything a creator could possibly do at this level, while he's on the other side, the reality, poking them. Hey, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. This is rattling the cages beyond anything I didn't know it was going to be like this when I started, but wow, the pressure we put back onto the darkness. It's not even the darkness, it's the negativity, because I'm 50% dark, you know?
Yeah.
And just transmuting it out. So look at that circle. You have Will, me, you, and Gina. 4 of us do 4 separate things, and we're all awesome doing the purpose and the calling and just going for it, stepping out of the comfort zone and being like, no, this is the reality. This is
Yes.
the help that's necessary. This is what I can do for that, right? Like I can't get up and go save starving kids in Africa, right? But I'm an ayahuasca shaman, and when I'm under, I could remove that, some of that stuff, and I could clear areas, and you know, we all have our part. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful to be making these connections, right? Between, there's 4 of us right there, powerful. I didn't even add Paul. Bong, etherical translation. Oh, right, like, and it just continued, right? Like, listen, in 10 years, that round of people, the Terrence McKenna's and all them, they're all gone, right? They're into back into the ether, and the next round is up there. You know, the Frank
Yes.
Castles and the Chris Geos and the Carolyns and the Pauls, and like that all sets up into that next step. So we have to do it correctly without the BS this time. So I'm proud to be part of this, and I'm glad to be in this now moment with you. I love you very much, and I appreciate everything that you do. And
Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much for being part with us. And I would love to have you back. And anytime you have something to say as well. And when we go
Yeah.
live in the Fearless family, we could start doing counter teaching. That's always
Yeah.
good productively.
I am totally game. Whenever you want to collaborate, I am here. I love this purpose, this mission, and I appreciate the clarity that you've given me. And I know that, you know, we are stronger in numbers, right? We
Yeah.
are stronger in numbers.
I don't have to do it alone. I have friends, lots of
Mhm.
them, and I brought them all, and I got cake. See, I'm prepared for this.
And I've got cake.
Right? Like this other
Yeah.
guy is like, dude, it's us, man. It's the I am, the we are, and we're here. So I'm like, man, this is great. You don't have to be Superman, but you can be Superman, and you could be Wonder Woman, and you could be this one, and you could be that. You could be it all. It's a beautiful thing, right? But you got to embrace that stuff and go for it. Thank you so
Exactly.
much. Every link for anything you need from either one of us are down in the description boxes. So everyone, thank you so much. Fearless family, thank you so much. Thank you for spending the time with us. I'm Frank Carroll, this is Carolyn Lorson, and you're listening to Fearless Conversations. And remember, stay fearless, and the universe rewards bravery. Love you guys. Have a great night.